Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wiki Weekends. I'm your host for this episode, Lucas Holland, and as always, I am joined by the lovely Karl Smallwood.
Yeah.
And if anyone doesn't know, here on Wiki Weekends, we wind up a wiki, we take a deep dive, and we keep swimming until we find something fun to talk about. And Karl, I'm hoping it won't take long to find something fun to talk about, because this is a very fun video game that we're talking about. We are going to be talking about Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door.
Yay! I've never played it.
You've never played any Paper Mario though, right?
I've not played many GameCube games.
Right, yes. Just Paper Mario as a series you're pretty unfamiliar with.
I'm aware of it by reputation, but I can set the scene, Lucas. I had 3 games for the GameCube when I was growing up, and it was Def Jam 5 for New York. Like, Black and Bruised, that crappy boxing game, and Enter the Matrix, where you play as Will Smith's wife and that Asian dude called Ghost.
You know me, Niobe. It's not a choice. It's a way of life.
I'm surprised you still got a GameCube then. Just the fact that your fond memories were just 3 terrible games.
Hey, Def Jam Fight for New York is a sick game. Put in any clip of any of the supers from that game. What other game lets you throw Snoop Dogg in front of a train?
I will give you that one, actually, because I was thinking of like one of the bad Def Jam games, but Fight for New York specifically is the good one.
Fight for New York is awesome, and Enter the Matrix is also kind of awesome if you can look past the fact, who the fuck is Niobe and Ghost?
Yeah, and then in the Matrix sequel, in the second one, when they just have that shot with all the different captains and stuff together, it's like, oh yeah, Naomi and Ghost are in there, they're definitely important characters.
I'm pretty sure they added that shot in the second movie to justify the existence of that game.
I think so, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, he is a nothing character. He has 4 lines of dialogue. And they made an entire game around it because they couldn't get the likeness rights for Keanu Reeves.
And a lot of it was essentially just trying to redo moments of the first movie without actually redoing it, right?
From, the perspective of someone who was always there.
Mm-hmm. Just off screen.
Yeah, just off screen, these characters were there helping. It's like, Ghost wasn't helping. And then they brought it back, though, because they released that Path of Neo game, which is actually fucking sick.
I remember the Path of Neo one being better, but, I'm not entirely sure why. I think maybe the gameplay was just tightened up a little bit, and you got to actually play as Neo.
It's because it let you do the Burly Brawl.
True.
It let you play the Burly Brawl, and you could do the thing where he runs around on the pole and kicks all the Hugo Weavings in the face.
So you're saying, Karl, that fighting vampires and werewolves wasn't good enough for you?
I will say it's funny that in the Matrix vampires exist and they never talk about it.
Just in that game, I think vampires or werewolves or both just turn up completely unexplained, and you're like, wait, what? When was this part of the Matrix?
If people don't know what we're talking about, when Neo goes to fight the Merovingian, I think it is in the palace.
Mm-hmm.
All of the bad guys there are vampires and werewolves, because they say there was a version of the Matrix based on human folklore and myth, where fuck it, they just put vampires and shit in there. And some of the vampires escaped, and it's never mentioned in the film, but in the Enter the Matrix game, just off camera, Niobe and Ghost were running through that mansion fighting vampires.
Yep. It's fantastic. But anyway, we're not talking about the Matrix games today, Karl.
Okay, can we? One day.
One day we should, yeah. We should, definitely. We are talking about Paper Mario: The 1,000-Year Door, and just, probably also just the Paper Mario and the Mario RPG series in general.
Yeah.
But I have the 1,000-Year Door wiki here because, the remake is coming out roughly the same time as this video comes out, because I'm trying to, make sure that we're thinking about those synergies.
All right, businessman Lucas. We got a call for a synergy.
The synergies.
It's like synergy, paradigm. Aren't these just words that make stupid people sound important?
Mostly. So Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is a 2004 role-playing game developed by Intelligent Systems and published by Nintendo for the GameCube. And Intelligent Systems are just a great developer that also make, like, you know, Fire Emblem and the, I was going to say, what's the other? I think they also make, like, Advance Wars and stuff like that, and just clicking on their stuff that they were involved with. A bunch of some of the most important Nintendo games. People should
give
them
credit. If there was ever a game that they should have slapped every Nintendo skin on, it's Fire Emblem. How is there not, okay, we're going to do Fire Emblem, but we're just going to put, like, a Mario skin on it? Or a Star Fox skin on it, or something like that, for the furries. It
would be really cool if, instead of, you know, the one where you have multiple houses, I can never remember the names of all of the Fire Emblem games, but each house could have just been a different Nintendo IP to go and teach. And it's like, do you want to go pick the Zelda house, or do you want to go pick the Star Fox house, or the Metroid house? I'd pick the Metroid house. Let's go.
Is there a game like that for you where you wonder to yourself, why is there not just a rip-off of this? Or not rip-off, like, why have they not just made this with another skin slapped on top of it? I thought that with Hades. I'm not like, how did they not just say, okay, fuck it, Roman Pantheon, Egyptian Pantheon?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I know they've done a sequel to it, but I was looking at it like, how is there not like 100 different companies beating down their door?
I mean, there probably is, right? Because that's what I always think to myself with Nintendo, is like, why aren't you just doing what they did with, like, Cadence of Hyrule? Where they just give an indie dev that's proven themselves this IP and, like, go make your game, but whack a Zelda skin on it like they did with Cadence of Hyrule.
Which is, like, a fantastic game, yeah.
Yeah, it's
so
incredible.
Is there any game like that for you? Like, how is this not... Because I remember seeing that with, like, Marvel Snap. Like, how is Marvel Snap not something they just slapped every different IP on? How have they not got like I know there is like that Disney Lorcana game.
Yes.
But just, how is there not like specifically the Marvel Snap? And I know Marvel Snap's like derivative of other card games, but I just saw that.
Why didn't they then just pay them to make Disney Snap? Like, yeah.
Especially when it's like, you know, Marvel is a Disney product.
Mm-hmm. One, like, spin-off that I'm surprised never went any further, and I guess it was just because it was probably pretty niche. Speaking of Fire Emblem, it was very similar to that of Pokemon Conquest, where it was a crossover with a game I'd never heard of until Pokemon Conquest came out, which is Nobunaga's Ambition. It's very similar to what a Fire Emblem is, if you're trying to think of, like, what game crossover it is. It's like Fire Emblem Pokemon, but obviously it doesn't have the exact specifics because it is Nobunaga's Ambition instead. But yeah, it was just this cool strategy game where you went around with a bunch of Pokemon on a strategy board instead.
I think the one game series that have actually done that is Dynasty Warriors, where they actually have used that gameplay and went, fuck it, slap a Zelda skin on.
And a Fire Emblem skin on it.
A Fire Emblem skin on it. They also did the Gundam one as well. Just live out your Gundam fantasies. It's like, yeah. But why does other game companies who have like these really solid bones for a game not just license that out? Like Assassin's Creed, how have we not got, fuck it, we're just going to make like an Assassin's Creed game, but like someone else put their IP on top of the bones of Assassin's Creed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, you know, I'm just going to say, the Muso games, they also did the One Piece ones. I don't want the anime fans coming at me. I definitely know they have a One Piece series of them.
Why is it like Dynasty Warriors are the only ones who are like, yeah, we're just going to let someone else license out our engine?
I'm sure there are other examples, but that's a really good example, yeah, where, like, okay, something like Zelda and Fire Emblem, they're relatively similar in terms of they're more fantasy-esque settings and they're using swords and weapons like that, whereas give it to, like, Gundam, give it to One Piece, they're nothing like that, yeah.
It reminds me of like when Platinum, like when they had that like mini renaissance after like Bayonetta, and they had that Ninja Turtles game, and they had the Path of Korra or Legend of Korra game. No, it's like, stylish character action game where it's style switching, the four bending styles. Perfect.
Carl, that's not the purpose of what those games were. They were clearly, give us an IP and we'll fart out some games for money while we're developing our other games.
Which is what the problem was, because if they put as much effort into that as they did for, say, Revengeance, because the bones were there for a solid character action game. It's like, when I heard that Legend of Korra one, that's perfect style switching. It makes sense. Each new skill set, each class style switch you get, like in Devil May Cry, Trickster, Gunslinger, Royal Guard, and Earth, Air, Fire, Water. Perfect. And then the game sucks. Same with like the Ninja Turtles one. Oh, you switch between the turtles and that's your fighting style switch? It's like, no, all 4 turtles have to be on screen at the same time. Great.
Going back to Paper Mario, I think it's really cool because, like, originally, kind of the whole idea of Paper Mario, I think, stemmed from the Super Mario RPG, which got a remake not long ago on Switch.
That thing I have played. Not played, I watched you and our mutual friend play it.
It's excellent, and it was essentially, hey, Square Enix making, like, Final Fantasies, 3 through 6 on the SNES or whatever it was. Like, just on top of their game at the minute, making, like, Chrono Trigger as well. Give these guys the Mario license and let them make an RPG.
So remember that as well, that was, it's one of those turn-based games where they had the active turn-based system, where it's still turn-based, but you have to, like, press buttons at the right time when Mario does his little jump.
Well, that's what Paper Mario does to this day, in some degree, yes.
Really liking that about Mario RPG.
Honestly, Paper Mario 1000 Year Doll's got one of the best battle systems I've ever played in an RPG, and I'm not a massive turn-based RPG fan. Like, I've played through, like, Chrono Trigger and quite a few Final Fantasies and stuff, but I'm not a massive expert on the genre as a whole. But yeah, I would definitely say from my experience and from what I've heard other people talk about this game is, like, the battle system, even for any RPG, is excellent. And it just does a lot of fun stuff in Thousand Year Door where it incorporates not only the timing of your moves, but also a bunch of different, like, mini games that all differ for each super that you do, and you've got, like, interactions with the crowd and getting the crowd hyped. Because, like, the kind of system around Thousand Year Door is that every battle that you do has a crowd watching, and you can do things to get them more hype, or you can get lucky and get them to interact by, like, throwing things at bosses and stuff.
Lucas, would you know what other game for the GameCube involves the crowd, where the crowd will be involved in the fight? Def Jam 5 for New York. Because you can throw them into the crowd and they'll throw them back. Or they'll, like, someone in the crowd will, like, grab Snoop Dogg and then you can walk up and just, like, club him over the head with a tire iron.
Just get the free hit on him.
Yeah, what game lets you club, like, Snoop Dogg half to death with a tire iron?
That's one thing that I was always surprised in the WWE games, or whatever they were, depending on what wrestling faction you're using at the time, of just, like, throwing them into the crowd often does nothing.
Well, that's the thing, like, speaking of games they should have slapped every other IP on top of, the Def Jam Fight for New York engine is one of the most fluid and in-depth engines for a fight. It's deceptively complex. Like, and to the point where there is, like, basically you get, I think it's like street fighting, kickboxing, martial arts, wrestling submissions. You pick one style, then get another style, then another. Depending on which order you get your styles and how many kicks you and stuff you throw as, like, hidden mechanics, you'll end up with, like, one of, like, 80 different fighting styles. And you can combine them, like, those 3 things in, like, those 5 things in any way that you choose.
Yeah.
I always wondered, because that was based on the Aki engine, which was used for a lot of those arcade wrestlers. Right, I think, do you know those early PS2 brawler wrestling games that were a lot snappier and quicker?
Yeah.
That was based on the Aki engine that they used for Def Jam. And then they moved away from that engine because it was too arcadey to the more simulation stuff, and that's where wrestling games suddenly got really fucking slow. Joe, we got to the era of wrestling games where it's just mashed to get back up.
The wrestling games that I'm really fond of, like, I grew up playing WCW versus NWO Revenge on the N64, where, like,
SmackDown Here Comes the Pain.
Yeah, exactly.
That's based on the Aki engine. I always wondered, how do they not... Because there's a really good fighting game in there, a really good arena fighter. And please now put in a clip from the actual hosted tournaments they do for Def Jam Fight for New York.
I wasn't aware that this had, like, a community around it.
They do tournaments and they're always so fucking hype. Because obviously it's rappers kicking the fuck out of each other.
Yeah.
one more time. It's one guess after this range for the title. He has enough. Another follow-up. And that's it. Dripsugeki is your CEO 2023 champion.
Oh god, have they installed like the Lamar Drake patch?
Oh man, well, that's the thing. That, even if they didn't want to put a different skin on top of it because it's like a really good in-depth fighting game, just the fact that the sequel we got was so flaccid and they removed the combat to make it about the music, it's like no one really cares.
Yeah, was that because I remember trying out a demo on the 360 for like Def Jam Icon and it was awful.
It had a decent gimmick where the gimmick was the arena moves in time with the music and you can play your own music. So that's the thing the Xbox could do.
Yeah.
The problem is the fighting fucking sucks. They based it on like the Fight Night engine. You know, the slow, deliberate boxing game. Because all you need to do to say, like, just put in a clip of like Def Jam Vendetta, like the secret Japan exclusive characters who had like straight up fucking JoJo finishers.
Oh my god. Carl keeps taking us off track onto Def Jam. The 1,000 Year Door is the second game in the Paper Mario series, following Paper Mario, which originally was Super Mario RPG 2. Then, I don't know exactly the history, but, you know, some kind of falling out happened, or, you know, Square Enix just were too busy, or whatever. They didn't want to work on Super Mario RPG 2 anymore. That became Paper Mario, and, you know, birthed the Paper Mario series, which was fantastic for 2 games, and now has become something completely different because the Mario and Luigi games came out and they were the ones that were allowed to be RPGs from that point on. As soon as Super Paper Mario happened, that kind of started becoming a different blend of a different game. It wasn't a straight RPG. And that's why, to this day, most people consider the 1,000 Year Door as being the Paper Mario game, if not the first one. I can't wait to see this in full HD, because when I did a stream of this a few years ago, it was like running on the GameCube, on like the game that our mutual friend lent me to run on proper hardware, and then I had a bad converter that cost me a few quid from Amazon to get it working on a HDMI, and it looked really bad, and I'm like, I can't wait for this to come out so I can actually just experience it in its full glory.
It was one of those examples of it, of like art style and direction trumps graphics. Because there's not really much you can do to like tidy them up besides just make those lines a bit cleaner.
That's the thing, is obviously it was like 480i resolution on the GameCube, I think. So it running in full 1080p HD when you like plug it into the dock and stuff, I'm sure that'll look great. People are a little bit pissed off because the GameCube game ran at 60 and it looks like this is going to run at 30. But other than that, this is going to be like the definitive glorious experience. And it's a turn-based RPG, apart from like the timing bit. Like 60 FPS probably doesn't make that much of an impact.
Here's the thing as well, like how much does it blow your mind when you just learn, like how is it that games on the GameCube and the PS2 and the PS1 and the Game Boy, the original fat Game Boy, all ran in 60 frames a second? And then you hear like modern game makers like it's impossible, there's no way to do it. It's like the Game Boy did it. Tetris on the Game Boy ran in 60 frames a second. Yeah,
you could just like tone down your like graphical fidelity a little bit and make sure the game can run at 60, but
it always blows my mind of like they talk about it as if it's fucking impossible. It's like they did it on the GameCube.
They did it on the Game Boy apparently.
The SNES, the SNES had 60 frames a second.
God.
It's so ridiculous.
Obviously, yeah, the 1,000 Year Door borrows many elements from its predecessor, such as the drawing-based art style and a turn-based battle system with an emphasis on timing moves correctly. For the majority of the game, the player controls Mario, although Bowser and Princess Peach are playable at certain points, and more importantly, the party that you get along the way are like actual, unique, good characters, whereas like in the later Paper Mario games, for some reason, instead of like the Goomba, for example, I think she's called Goombella, and is like an actual unique Goomba character rather than just, oh, guess what? You've got Goomba in your party. It's like, oh, you've got Koopa in your party. You've got Bob-omb in your party. No, it's actual Koopas and Goombas and Boos that are their own characters with their own character arcs and stories.
See, that's like such a weird step backwards, because even Final Fantasy, they're like, the game they're basing it on, learn that. Like the first game you play is like, you make a party whatever you want, you can have like 4 white mages if you want, but you are playing as the white mage, the black mage, the the blue mage, the red mage, the warrior, the thief, what have you. From Final Fantasy 2 onwards, they're like, no, fuck that, you're playing as character with name, because then people get attached to that character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they walk back. That makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a baffling decision. I don't overly know why they did it, to be honest. You know, you've got like a newborn Yoshi with a little like mini mohawk, and he's like tough and brave, but he's brand new to the world. He is literally born out of an egg in the game, fresh. And he just joins your party and is like, yeah, let's go. I don't really know what's going on, but yeah, let's go.
I bet it's just one of those weird things like Nintendo don't want any original characters being made.
Like, I presume that's the weird thing about it, yeah, is that they don't want, especially non-Nintendo developers like Intelligent Systems or whoever's making the RPG at the time, like, just, they don't want to give them free reign to just make all these brand new characters for the universe.
Yeah.
Which is a fucking mistake, because everyone they fucking made for Thousand Year Door is just glorious.
Reminds me a little bit of, like, there's a game, speaking of, like, Mario games, where, like, they cross over with other stuff, or, like, you know, it's another company dipping its toes into the Mario IP.
Mm-hmm.
I can only think of, like, the Mario, like, XCOM style game. Well, I was really excited for it until I learned you had to have a rabbit in your team.
Which I think, if I'm correct, they did change in the sequel, and you can just have, in Sparks of Hope, I think you can just have a full team of Mario characters.
I can't think of any game that put me off harder. Because I was like really excited. I love XCOM. And I thought XCOM, but it's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Because XCOM's like infamously brutal.
And it's got a lot of charm. Like, Mario vs. Rabbids, I did play like a good 2/3 of that game, and it is really charming. It does have quite a good like difficulty curve as well.
Yeah, I like the gameplay style. I thought, you know, in the Mario... So we said earlier, get a good game with good bones, slap the skin of another IP on it that, you know, will attract people who may not have initially been interested. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as I learned you have to have a rabbit on your team, like, no thank you.
Yeah.
They are the ugliest. They might be the ugliest mascot character that the company behind them refuses to stop putting in things.
And that's the weird thing, because as far as I'm aware, I'm not big on the Rayman IP, but I'm pretty sure they were meant to be like some kind of annoying antagonist to begin with. And
I don't understand how they become a mascot that they force you to interact with.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of like a deal that probably happened, that was probably like Ubisoft, like, no, you have to have a rabbit on your team.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I'm not playing. I absolutely refuse to play the game because I hate them. I hate them, Lucas.
Yeah, I feel that. It's like every time I was playing that game, the thing that put me off was just continually having to, in every cutscene, be interacting with all the rabbits and stuff. And I really liked the gameplay of that game. But to me, it just would have been way more appealing if it was just the Mario, or if it was Mario versus rabbits.
Yeah, do you know what we need? We need that guy who edited... Do you like the machete edit for, like, Star Wars, where they just cut all the bollocks out of the first 3 movies? We need the guy, because there's a guy who did that for the Despicable Me series, where they went through and cut out every non-essential minion scene. Yeah. We need that guy to hack apart this game and just cut out all the rabbits.
I'm presuming that's probably what happened with the rabbits, is that in one of the Rayman games, like 2 or 3 or whatever, they were, like, a pretty charming little joke about, like, oh... every now and then these annoying little rabbit things are going to turn up, and it's going to be really charming for like 5% of the time. And then they went, but let's make that the main character like they did with the minions. Of like, all of a sudden when it becomes about the minions, it goes from charming and funny to just so obnoxious. I don't want to think about minions, Carl. Don't want to think about it. So that's
my entry.
The game... Paper Mario 1000 Year Door was praised by critics, generally lauded for its engaging plot and gameplay. The 1000 Year Door won the Role Playing Game of the Year award at the 2005 Interactive Achievement Awards, and is often considered the best game in the series. The game was followed by Super Paper Mario, which was released for the Wii in 2007, and a remake of the game for Nintendo Switch is set to be released on May 23rd, 2024, which is not yet out, so we can't comment on that. But as far as I can tell, it looks like a pretty straightforward remake that looks very nice.
Yeah, and I know people complain about like all these remakes and stuff, but I'm actually happy that games that I fondly recall, obviously not this one, but like there's been other remakes and stuff, like the Medieval remake.
Mm-hmm.
I had such a fondness and like, you know, nostalgia for a Medieval, and then I went back and played and went, man, this fucking sucks. Well, then they released the remake and I went, oh wow, now it plays like I remember it.
Yeah.
Nostalgia won't ruin this game for me by making me go back and play and go, oh no, I was 12.
I also just think, hey, okay, a remake of a game that came out, or remaster or whatever, of like a game that came out 5 years ago, whatever, I'm not that arsed, but it's been 20 years since Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door came out. On a GameCube, where it was exclusive, the GameCube didn't sell massive amounts. It sold like 22 million or some crap like that.
It was the best selling in our hearts, Lucas. Our square
that's
hearts.
the thing, it was the main console to me, but the PS2 outsold it by like 7 times or something ridiculous.
Then Nintendo came in with the Wii. They put the gloves on. They could release the Wii.
Yeah, just like the fact that not many people, compared to the amount of gamers there are out there now, will have ever got the chance to like properly play through this game, and especially nowhere near as nice as it's going to look on the Switch. So why not open this game up to a brand new generation of like, oh hey, do you remember one of the best rated and most fondly remembered games of that entire generation of games is still just locked behind being on a GameCube?
Yeah, it's always a shame, isn't it? Because like the people who would like be annoyed about this are the same people who would complain that kids today just play Fortnite, and it's like, yeah, because there's no way to access these old classic games.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, I've not actually heard anyone really complain about the fact that this game's getting remade. Everyone's just like, let's fucking go, I can't wait to play this again.
People always like complain about the idea of remakes. It's like, why don't you just make something new?
And it's like, the development of this remake isn't really stopping another big budget Nintendo or Intelligent Systems games or whatever being made. They're being made separately by a different team. This is not going to be stalling like a new Mario game coming out or something. Yeah,
to me, it'd be like people complaining about them releasing Blu-ray versions of classic movies.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, we did like, you know, a Blu-ray upscale like Terminator 2. It's like, why the fuck did you go make a new Terminator movie? It's like, they did and it sucks. Let me watch Terminator 2 in the highest possible quality.
Going on to gameplay here, it says like, Thousand Year Door is a role-playing game with non-traditional RPG elements. The player controls a two-dimensional version of Mario and explores a variety of worlds designed to look like paper. In these locales, he is tasked with retrieving 7 crystal stars, which involve Mario completing puzzles and defeating enemies to proceed. And the thing I love about the Paper Mario series is that Mario is paper in the series, and they use that as gameplay elements.
Is that different to Super Mario then?
Yeah. So, like, obviously the characters are the same characters. Mario is Mario, but in this world, there's no explanation like Mario transported to a different world. This is just everything is made out of paper in this world, okay? Just accept it. It's like, yeah, cool. Which means that, for example, the one, puzzle example here is that one of the gameplay elements to do some platforming, Mario learns how to transform into a paper aeroplane and fly across the screen.
I love shit like this.
It's just stuff like that where so many of the gameplay elements are Mario learning how to abuse the fact that he is made of paper, or for example, solving puzzles and finding collectibles. A lot of the time in the world, there's a move that you unlock where one of the characters can like blow wind really strongly and like create a big gust of wind. Yep. And you have to look out for little parts of the world where the paper's peeling off a little bit. And then you blow that piece of paper off the wall and then reveal like a hidden exit or entrance or like some coins or whatever it is.
Okay, so how would you rank this in terms of like Mario strength, power scaling then? Like, does the Mario in this version, is he as strong as, say, like the Mario from Mario Galaxy where he can like teleport and shit? Like Mario Wonder where he can turn into an elephant?
It's probably not as strong in the demonstrations of power that he has within this game, because a lot of his powers are still just like for the purposes of like, I'm gonna roll up into a roll of paper to get underneath things and things like that.
Which wouldn't really do much against regular Mario, who can like set him on fire. But the fact that he has the ability to manipulate the world in which he lives in such a dramatic and creative way.
Well, that's the thing is, I imagine if they took the logic further, they could probably make it so that Paper Mario is like cartoon logic levels. However, they don't really do that within the game itself. The majority of the time, Mario is still just jumping on things or hitting them with a hammer in terms of doing damage to stuff. So I don't think he's like massively OP strong.
It's like Mario's got like what? He's a plumber. He's not got a PhD. He's smart, but in the sense of like
he's got a doctorate in pipe work. You know it.
Yeah, he's got a doctorate in lane pipe. We know this, but but even still, it would occur to me that things made of paper. Why would you use a blunt object? Rock, paper, scissors. Paper beats rock, the blunt object. Do you see where I'm going with this?
No, I do.
Mario's primary attack thing is the thing that paper always wins against.
Yeah, no, I get it. And like, I can't remember whether it's like this game or another Paper Mario game. I'm pretty sure at some point, like, scissors get involved at some point.
That'd be unstoppable,
as like a joke,
right?
And I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I really enjoy the fact that like Mario is still Mario. He feels like Mario, but then all of the other party members have like their own strengths and weaknesses that you can use, and like there's a character where I say they can create a gust of wind, and in battle that means if there's an enemy that you don't want to fight, you won't get the XP, but you can just blow them away if you do the minigame right.
Which is again a classic Final Fantasy and RPG trope. There's some good examples of that, because usually it's just the status eject.
Yes,
I think in Final Fantasy 2 you had teleport, which was a really weak spell, but if you got it all the way leveled up, you could do it to the final boss, because it was the one status effect no boss had a full resistance to.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why, please put in the clip as well of Auron doing Shooting Star from Final Fantasy X, where it's also the eject, and he just, Auron swings his sword like a baseball bat, and the enemy just flies out of the ring.
No time to waste. Let's go.
But like they like fly like a fucking shooting star, yeah.
As they should, yeah, because you know what? Get the fuck out. Battle. Done. Do you have like a favourite like status effect like that from a game? Because I think eject is a funny one.
I think one of the funniest ones for me is when we were playing through Final Fantasy VIII, and I know this is... It happens in quite a few Final Fantasies when you were just like, oh yeah, do you know this boss? Just heal it. And it's like, wait, what? It's a zombie. So you just heal the undead enemy to kill it.
Undead enemies being weak to healing magic, or you could use a Phoenix Down to like, so Phoenix Down will bring them back to life. It's like, but they're undead, so it brings them to death.
It's like you kill them by bringing them back to life, so therefore they can't be a zombie anymore.
That always feels really smart when you figure that out as well. When you do that, when you just throw like an elixir at an undead enemy and it insta kills them, you're like, idiot.
It's like, you fool, your one weakness was life. Oh yeah, that's one that always tickles me, is just like the undead characters being weak to healing magic, which makes perfect sense.
Well, I think there's a fun thing you can do in Final Fantasy X. One of the most infamously difficult battles in that is the battle against Lady Unalesca. Because the gimmick in her battle is the only time it ever really comes into effect in the game, is she attacks you and casts zombie on you. And your instinct is zombie's a really bad status effect, because when you've got zombie, any healing magic hurts you. So your instinct is to instantly try and cure it.
Yes.
But being a zombie makes you immune to instant death, which is the other status effect she does. So that battle is about juggling, keeping half of your party zombified and the other half not.
So that then, no matter what happens, someone's going to stay alive, yeah.
Yeah. So if you try to do like the party wipe instant death thing, the zombified character can survive.
Right.
But that zombified character can't heal. So you periodically have to like cure zombie to heal, but then get zombied again. So it's really fun, but a lot of people find that battle difficult because that's not really well explained. It's the only time.
No, of course.
It's the only time you're expected to take advantage of the zombie effect.
It often happens in those games where, just a lot of older games especially, there'll be like a gimmick for one fight, but because it's just a gimmick fight, there is no like tutorial to explain it, so you just kind of left to bang your head against a wall until you figure out what the problem was.
But you do feel very smart when you think of that, though.
You do, yes.
Or you just bring Yojimbo in. It's like, Yojimbo, fucking take care of this.
You know, it does talk a lot about just the general like combat mechanics and the plot and stuff like that. But I think I'll just talk about like the rough plot here. It's just one paragraph, because I do think, most people think of Mario as just mostly gameplay. That's kind of how Miyamoto likes it, is the story in a traditional Mario game is basically non-important, and it's just there to give Mario an excuse to go on an adventure.
It's the John Romero quote, isn't it, about story? Like, story in a video game is like story in porn. No one really it's like, it's expected to be there, but no one really pays attention to it.
Which they do in this game, because it does have a very good story. And it's got a lot of dialogue. I will admit it is a bit heavy at times, where, like, sitting there for 10 minutes scrolling through a bunch of dialogue, and I'm like, oh, this feels a little bit like an older RPG where they did not really respect your time at times.
Yeah. Where do you fall on then, like, presumably it's not voiced, because you're not going to have Charles Martinet doing, like, 1,000 hours of voice acts. Where do you fall on RPGs being voiced?
So I prefer it. However, it does mean that when you do have to go through a cutscene, you don't have the choice to just, like, spam through it all if you're not bothered at the time. Yeah. Like, if you want to get straight back into it, you generally can't if it's voiced. It's
why I think Final Fantasy X gets it right, because all the cutscenes are voiced, but overworld, non-important characters just give dialogue boxes. I think that's a good middle ground.
That is a pretty good middle ground, yeah. Because I don't like the games with zero voices, especially when story is meant to be pretty involved, because obviously most people will agree, like, giving a voice to a character gives them a bit more, just likability and gives them a bit more character.
Unless they're supposed to be a blank slate.
Yeah. Obviously, plenty of games like a Mario game or The Legend of Zelda, like, even when other characters are talking in Tears of the Kingdom, Link does not, because Link is your blank slate character, yeah.
Another way to do it is just, instead of having voice actors, just have the character make, like, a grunt or sound of acknowledgement, like when Link's, like, happy, is like, when he's a dog, I think that can work as well.
Yeah. Plot here of the Thousand Year Door is set in the Mushroom Kingdom, but the town of Rogue Port serves as the hub world, and that connects all the other locations in the game, and these are all locations which are, like, unique to the Thousand Year Door. The story is divided into 8 chapters and a prologue, each of which primarily take place in one of the unique areas. Each of the major locations are designed around a specific theme. Glitzville, for example, is a floating city known for its fighting arena. And I will say that there is an entire segment where Mario, like, becomes a wrestler. And there is, I presume you've probably seen a screenshot before, Carl, of the boss that is basically like a Macho Man Randy Savage ripoff in Thousand Year Door.
Yeah, and does Mario do some, like, full-on wrestling moves?
Yeah, and you're amping up the crowd, which works for both the wrestling and the combat in the game, and that entire segment is just notorious for how cool it is.
Here's the question, though. I've got a question, Lucas.
Yeah, go on.
Can Mario do a suplex?
I can't remember, but I think the answer is no.
Because that's the thing, if it's inspired by Final Fantasy and you've got a wrestling moment, how can you not put suplex in? Please put the clip in of Sabin suplexing the train. The thing is, people always forget that it's a ghost train as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the characters suplexing a train. They're suplexing a train that's also a ghost.
As I say, it's been a few years since I played it, so I don't remember fully, but I don't think that there is a suplex in there. But as much as it is like Mario working his way up the ranks, doing random battles, they do thread story in throughout that grind really nicely.
Yeah.
And just that entire segment of the game is absolutely excellent. And just, as I say, the fact that what do you do when you've got a gameplay and battle mechanic system that is based around amping up a crowd in a fight? Well, of course you've got to throw in a wrestling segment.
It reminds me a little bit of Undertale. The Metaton fight, where it's about they're streaming it online, and you have to get the crowd hype, and the more hype that you get, the more like Metaton starts fucking dancing.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, Peach gets captured by the X-Nauts in this game, which is part of what kicks it all off, and you do get to play like little kind of puzzly segments as Peach. A lot of the Peach stuff revolves around talking to the like computer AI tech, just TEC. It's kind of both to keep contact with Mario via email, but also to have conversations with the AI, who is like basically a HAL ripoff.
Oh, HAL 9000, yeah.
But it starts like falling in love with Peach throughout the game as it starts like getting more interaction with Peach and starts falling in love with her and giving her tips and stuff.
Oh man, see that'd be creep. Right, that's cute, I guess.
In this game, it is because it is done in a very Mario cutesy kind of way, yes.
But if you change that character's name to Samus and the AI to Adam, then I'd be having fucking problems with it.
But that's the thing, right, is that would be worse because Samus is meant to be like this strong, independent woman, whereas Peach, as much as she like maybe is nowadays in like the new movie and stuff, like generally in 2004, Peach was just a damsel in distress as a plot device.
Yeah, and I just remembered, look, I can't believe we forgot in the conversation about not voicing characters, and we mentioned fucking Undertale. We didn't mention just the way they do it, like
Yeah, true.
Just give everyone just a noise. Everyone knows like Sans is
Most of the story's strength is in just the general charm and the character work, so it's hard to explain necessarily why all of them are, why the story is so good, but it is just relying on the kind of witty writing and the entire charm around the game. It's like, for example, maybe a bit of a weird tangent, but like, for example, Portal. Well, the Portals are good, but like that game is sold on the charm of like GLaDOS or GLaDOS and Wheatley in 2.
Did you see like the take as well? That just made everyone our age just crumble to dust. As someone played through it and went, man, the humour's really cringy and internet. Like it just seems like, a lot of people watch a lot of stuff on the internet and try to copy that, and it's like, no, the people on the internet were copying this.
Yeah.
This is where that comes from.
It made the internet humour, not vice versa.
Yeah, the reason the internet was like unbearable in certain online spaces for like 3 years was because of this game.
The cake is a lie because of Portal. The Portal wasn't stealing the joke from anything else. It's like, oh no. Oh god, that is a bit rough, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of like good voice acting as well, just GLaDOS.
And Wheatley.
I just like the GLaDOS one though, because Guillermo del Toro got the same voice actress to do the voice of the computer in Pacific Rim.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. I can't remember what voice actor it is as well, but like Cave Johnson as well. Mm-hmm. Where like the minimal amount of game that he is in, he's great for.
I'll double check his voice actor because someone's going to be screaming in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
J.K. Simmons.
Oh, was it? Wow, yeah, okay.
It was J.K. There we go.
There we go. That probably explains why it was a great performance. It's like I couldn't quite remember because I only really played Portal 2 when it came out, and that's been a long time now.
Yeah, it's just one of those games I played it once and just had a really fond memory of it and just never decided to play again. Like J.K. Simmons must be really happy. It's like, he's come a long way since like voicing the yellow M&M. That's him. Everyone always forgets that he's the yellow M&M, and it's like, wow. Yeah, he is.
But yeah, like generally, just reception-wise, this game received like great reviews. Metacritic of like 87, so really strong, like 8.5 to 9 out of 10. There's just like Game Informer. Just when you're looking back and you're like, Game Informer gave it a 6.75 out of 10, surrounded by everyone else being like, yeah, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10. And
that sums it up, yeah.
Every now and then you just look back and go, maybe that review didn't stand the test of time of giving Thousand Year Door like less than a 7 out of 10. And everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but when your opinion is so very different from every other critical opinion, it's like maybe you should
maybe there's something going on there, yeah?
Yeah, reevaluated your position on that one. And I'm sure like maybe a lot of people do when they look back at like their 20-year-old reviews and go like, how well did these opinions stand up to the test of time?
So I guess there's some reviews who just do it on purpose. There's like the famous movie Arm & White, where basically just every popular movie, that guy always says, no, actually, it fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
and no one saw it but me.
There are always contrarians out there just for the sake of it, and then a lot of the time someone will literally give a contrarian review so that everyone will get angry and share it online and be like, look how bad this review is, and then you're giving that oxygen to then encourage them to just keep doing it.
Yeah. I'm the person who gave Breath of the Wild a 6 out of 10 and people still complain about it. Yep,
that's how it works, but...
Yeah, just don't credit your sources. Keep doing that. That'd be great.
Anyway.
Keep plagiarising sources and not crediting them. That's great.
Oh dear. Well, I guess on that note, we can end it there, Carl.
Lucas can just see me giggling.
I'm just like, oh no. Carl giggling away.
Credit your fucking sources.
All I'll say is, if you've got a Switch and you like RPGs, go and give this a shot. Or at least, go and watch someone stream it. That wasn't me saying I'll stream it.
It's gonna be you, right?
It's not gonna be me. Not anywhere close to the time that this video comes out anyway, because we've just started our Mass Effect 3 playthrough, Carl, for Mass Effect Mondays.
Hell yes.
So, yeah, it's not going to be me streaming it anytime soon, but I would recommend at least going and tracking down someone streaming it, or go watch some, reviews on YouTube or whatever. Just, go read a few articles on it. Go and just immerse yourself in this game whatever way you can, because it is one of the greatest RPGs I think I've ever played, and just the amount of fun it has with its world and its characters, and, a genuinely actually, cool story as well. It's excellent all around, and there's a reason why people still remember it as the best in the series, Paper Mario-wise. Yeah, it's very, very good. I'm very glad that a bunch of people who weren't able to play it back in the day are going to get to play it in nice, new, shiny HD graphics. But yeah.
Cheers, everybody.
Thank you all for joining. Go play Paper Mario. Thank you.